What is the purpose of life?
Well, I say that every individual has a set of priorities, a set of values in life, and the hierarchy of their values really dictates their destiny. The ancient Greeks said that whatever's highest on a person's values, whatever's most meaningful, most inspiring to them, is their mission for life, their purpose for life. So everybody brings to the table their own unique mission or purpose or feelings of meaningfulness in their life. So I don't like to say that there's only one meaning for life, because I believe that everybody fits in the matrix of life and everybody's needed. When I was young, I had the opportunity, when I was 4, work with a gentleman who was a ditch digger named Jesse. And his
when you were 4 years old?
When I was 4 years old, my dad owned a plumbing business. And so I got to work and help him, you know, in the plumbing industry and dig ditches and carry dirt and stuff. And when I met Jesse, he was a committed ditch digger. He was an inspired guy. He loved it. He was a master at what he did. And he had 9 children and raised a family, and he was the most masterful ditch digger you ever met. And he loved what he did. And he thought it was, he said, I bring water from the main to the house and bring water to people's lives to bring life to people. This is my mission and contribution to the earth. So I do it with love. And he dug a ditch in a way. And my dad wanted me to work with him to learn how important it is to do what you love in life and be inspired and really put effort and put your soul into your work. And so that person is just as meaningful as any other human being on earth. So I always say that everybody with their own unique set of values and priorities contributes to the planet in such a meaningful way. So the collection of the world, I think, is to live inspired and to love people and to be grateful for life. But individually, I think everybody has their own unique pathway or unique contribution and mission for life.
Is that the fundamental principle behind the Demartini technique?
Well, the Demartini Method is a series of questions that help bring order to the mind when it appears to have chaos, and it helps a person have appreciation and love when they're having fears or guilts or resentments or infatuations. It brings balance to the mind, and it kind of helps heal the body. Many people have used this work, from psychiatrists to medical facilities have referred people to it because it brings healing to people. But it helps a person find a hidden order in their daily chaos and find ways of appreciation and love in their life. I always say that anything you can't say thank you for is emotional baggage that makes you a victim of your history, not a master of your destiny. But everything you can see from a hidden order and actually find something to be thankful for allows you to fuel your life and inspire your life to do something extraordinary. But in my own perspective, I realize that human beings, whenever they make decisions based on the information that they have. And according to that information, complete or otherwise, we make our decisions. So I don't like to label myself as mistaken. I like to look at myself as whatever I'm doing, I'm refining my pathway and learning how to master my life. And so I don't like to think of it as mistakes. I just like to think of it as feedback. A rocket, when it takes off, it has many corrections. Most of its energy spent on corrections. But it's not a mistake, it's just a pathway, a necessary pathway to get what it's going.
Leadership, how do you feel about what characteristics are needed for a good leader in your opinion? Now, and perhaps in that answer, if you can also talk about mentorship, and I assume that you would see Paul Bragg as being a mentor to you. Are there other people who have played that type of role in your life?
Yes, many. Because everybody lives by a set of priorities, a set of values in their life, things are important, most important to least important. Whenever we set goals and intentions that are congruent and aligned with what is highest on our value, most meaningful, most purposeful, most inspiring, our real identity, we tend to walk our talk. We don't limp our life. And we tend to start to believe that we know, we are, and we can. We become affirmative and feel the universe is working on our behalf. And we awaken our natural born innate leadership that we all have in the field that we're inspired by. So I believe that there's a leader in everyone, but I believe that many times people subordinate to other influences and other people, compare themselves to those people, expect themselves to excel in an area that's not really meaningful to them, and then shroud their own natural born leader, and then end up a follower. And the purpose of the following is to having other people direct their life to frustrate them enough to wake up their true leader. And so I believe that everybody has a leader inside. Now, mentors, I believe that when we have a mentor, I learned from Aristotle, in the writings of Aristotle, that when we see somebody that we look up to and admire, it's because we're too humble to admit what we see in them is inside us. So our job is not to minimize ourselves to them and subordinate and follow and think they have something we don't, but to look within them and then ourselves through reflection and identify in ourselves what we see in them inside ourselves to awaken it, and then thank them and stand on their shoulders, not in their shadows, and shine a greater horizon and do greater things in our life, using them as someone to be respectful and thankful for.
So examples of good leaders currently, looking at the landscape, all the leadership material that we've got, who would you say stands out as a good leader?
Well, I think that there's, in every field, there's people that are leaders. If we look in politics, you know, in your country you have an icon. You have Nelson Mandela as somebody who is willing to endure pain and pleasure in the pursuit of a great cause. This is a sign of a leader. Because when you're living according to your highest values, you'll endure pain and pleasure in the pursuit of your mission. When you're not, and you're living according to some lower values or some other injected values by others, you'll only do things if it's pleasurable, and you'll give up the second it's challenging. So a true leader is somebody who's willing to embrace the challenges and the supports equally. And they're willing to have the whole world against them to fulfill their own soul's message. So a leader, I think, is one who is authentic. They're congruent. And I believe in every industry we have somebody who's a leader. In business we have leaders.
Let's pause there on the corporate side.
Yes.
Who stands out as a good leader in the corporate world? Because again, there's quite a lot of game playing that has to go on in the corporate world in order to achieve success in the corporate arena.
Well, I think that if we impose kind of a fantasy idealisms onto leaders and expect them to be all support, never challenge, all kind, never cruel, all positive, never negative, and anything else, we have an unrealistic expectation on human behavior. Human behavior is such that anytime somebody supports your values, you tend to open up. Somebody challenges your values, you close down. And so you have both sides. So a true leader is one that has both sides. So in the industries in your country, for instance, you have a gentleman named, I think, Ray Ackerman, who had Pick and Pay. Well, he would be a leader in the grocery industry. And you obviously have Zuma, who's now a leader in the political arena. And he's willing to endure pain and pleasure in it, in his pursuit. Everybody's going to have different value systems. They're going to impose on him, and they're going to judge him accordingly. But the idea to stand up there and have the courage to take the shots and put yourself in that leadership role is a leader right there.
Well, you brought up President Jacob Zuma.
Yeah.
What is your opinion of him?
Well, I can't say that I've studied his life fully, so it's not fair for me to give a real good evaluation of him. But there's
from what's available in the media, the news headlines, the statements that are made?
Well, I know that a person, in order they be in leadership roles, they have to be able to do things that some people consider constructive and destructive. That's just part of the game. And he's obviously got histories of things that people would be challenged by, but he's also brought things that no doubt have contributed to this country. There's things I've seen already that have been contributed to. So I don't have this expectation to him more constructive than destructive or more positive than negative. I always say that a person who's a leader has both. So I do believe that Zuma has things you can admire and things you may not admire, despise even. But the idea that he's sitting up there taking the punches and he's willing to go through there and take on the risk and believe in himself enough to move forward and try to help the country go forward, I have to honor.
Let's go further afield. President Obama.
Well, I was inspired to see that a man who had many challenges up against him. I mean, he had race and color. He had a name that was challenging. He came in from out of kind of nowhere in left field. The idea that he was able to, in America, to be able to take on that role of president, I thought was inspiring. I am certain that
in the most difficult economic environment.
That is, you have to give him courage to stand up there and take that on. I mean, I many times imagine myself in those situations, and even though society may not like the leaders, the able to take on those responsibilities are pretty amazing. They're major responsibilities. So I respect Obama for his willingness to go in there. I think he had a little bit of idealisms. I think he is very intelligent. I think he had the opposition party doing whatever they can to undermine, and I think that he had the supportive party doing whatever they can to encourage. But I think he's finding his way as he goes through, and he's starting to gain some accomplishments. I think the first year or so, people were expecting more, but I do believe that he's going to rally towards the end, and he's going to bring some contribution to America. And the normal business cycle in America is going to make it where it's going to come out in his favor towards the last of his term, I think. But I do believe that he represents what's possible for human beings in the world. That it doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter what you've gone through, it doesn't matter what you're going through. It matters, do you have a dream? And are you willing to do the principles and the actions that lead to leadership? And if you show it, see, what I'm inspired by is that here's a guy that started where he did, and he led himself to the top. And I think that that is what everybody in every country deserves to reflect upon, because I really believe that even if you come from a township, you have the capacity to hold to a vision and do something amazing with your life. one of the reasons I love coming down to South Africa is to watch people who have started with very little and they've gone on to do something great. That's what inspires me being here.
Your plans for South Africa, you're getting more and more involved in this economy. Can you elaborate on ultimately your dream for this country?
Well, I have to thank a lovely lady named Clarissa Judd, because I came here about 6 years ago and did a speech in Cape Town to the medical school, and I was speaking on physiology and things. And then I had the opportunity to do the breakthrough experience and try to help people break through. And there was a lady who was in attendance there named Clarissa Judd, who then flew to Australia and then asked me in a program that she came to, a training program there, if I was to bring you back to South Africa, would you come and share and try to assist in whatever way we can in South Africa? So that's my mission. My mission is to look in the industries and look in the sectors of society, try to find out where I might be able to contribute. And then in the Demartini Institute, do what we can to try to find a way with education, primarily education, because that's my expertise, to try to bring some sort of education to help fill in those gaps, to assist people in empowering their lives. Because I'm a firm believer that any area of your life that you don't empower, you will be overpowered.
What challenges you? Just finally, we are drawing to a close now, but what challenges you, what keeps you going?
Probably the biggest challenges I face is sometimes traveling in airports. I
think a number of people would share those sentiments with you.
Yeah, I get challenged sometimes in airports. Challenges managing all the people that I have around the world that are involved in all the things that I'm doing, trying to managing everything and learning to delegate things, because I have things going on in many countries. And the thing that inspires me and fuels me the most is watching somebody get a tear in the eye, a light bulb go on, and see new possibilities and potentials and making a contribution. Since I was 17 and I sat on that floor on the North Shore of Oahu and I met Paul Bragg, I made a commitment that I was going to spend the rest of my life doing whatever I could to help people do what this man just did for me. Watching people get that makes it where I can't wait to get up in the morning to do what I did. The best thing I could say.